Every time this new anime of Madoka introduces a character from the original cast in this setting, it's always just a blessing. It feels like, yeah, bad things happen to these characters. They're probably going to happen in this anime. They happened in the original, but it's just nice to see them interacting with this new cast of characters and kind of getting that what if they didn't end up in the situation they did in the original, or they interacted with these characters here. It's just a blessing, and I enjoy it every single time. And the new character we get introduced to this week, Felicia, who I have to say is great. She is a badass. She is very hot-headed. She is a mercenary for hire, or a friend for hire if you got the funds to be able to hire her service, which is very cheap, 500 or 1,000 yen. Or a meal will do the trick for just taking out a witch or kind of coming along with the journey. Like, I have to say, this episode slapped. It was really good. Once again, just the episode literally kicks off and you're just looking at these visuals and you just think to yourself, if this was any other anime other than Madoka, what would our initial response be to just seeing what we're seeing? Like, the whole idea that you pretty much have a cult. Like, that's kind of what this rumor boils down to. You have a cult. Basically, you come to this little, like, I guess you could call it a little, like, a street-wide sale where if you drink the water, you're going to have great luck for a set amount of times, where maybe it's you buy a lottery ticket, you win the lottery, or you get an extra bun with your meal. The luck's obviously going to vary from thing to thing, and you obviously can't decide when the luck activates, but once it reaches 0, you pretty much have a cataclysmic event kind of coming down your way to ruin the party, so it keeps you there day in and day out to drink the water. You're basically forced to drink the Kool-Aid till the end of your times, else you'll just be a forgotten magical girl. It's kind of genius because on one hand you think to yourself, well, as long as you drink the water at a steady interval, you could have like the greatest life ever. But if you miss a single drop or you do too many things in one time, you might use up all your luck and you'll just get killed. It's such a great concept because I'm sure most people would say, oh no, I'd never want to drink it because it's too risky, but there would come a point in your life where you're like, well, I've had a really bad day, what if? And that what if will always get you. And honestly, the what if is pretty much the big part of why anyone becomes a magical girl in this show to begin with. What if my wish could come true? What would I be willing to give up for it? And that's kind of the entire point of this anime. And I have to say, once again, I'm just really enjoying how they're presenting the story in this show, because with the original anime, it was more about like, okay, we think it's normal and then clearly it's not, and it's a quickly shattering and they just keep the ball rolling of how crazy the magical girl world is, and what the truth of a magical girl is, and what a witch actually is in the grand scheme of things. With this show, rather than these characters quickly understanding how twisted magical girls are, rather, what they're doing is they're just giving their focus on their personal motivations. For our main character, Tamaki, is about finding her sister, right? And in doing so, what they're ending up creating is a story that just feels personal, even though the viewers watching, a majority of which will have seen the original, and even if you haven't seen the original, you can kind of tell at face value, this world is sick and twisted, and that little cute fuzzball you probably shouldn't trust, because you'll get roped into something you'll never be able to escape. So I like that. I like how instead of just like doing the same thing of just watching these characters realize that their world is kind of messed up and there's no hope for them most likely, what they're instead doing is just showing us that messed up content while just giving that personal story, which in doing so makes any character in the show intriguing to follow. I mean, they pretty much kick the episode off, or nearly kick it off, with a group of characters, and you're just like, I don't even know your face, but it's like, it's interesting to see what they're doing and how they'll actually hire a mercenary, even though that mercenary is a very dangerous person who doesn't take into consideration her basically owner's, well-being, because, well, she just kind of jumps in with a hammer in one hand and probably a snack in the other, and just has a field day with it. And that's what makes it incredibly fun to me, because this episode could be summed down to as just the daily adventures of mercenary for hire and Tamaki, and just them going gambling or getting basically food and things like that. It's very simple. We know the bigger picture of why this is happening. We have a girl who, she says, parents are dead. The only way for her to survive is by selling her services, and the only thing she's good for is, well, she's killing witches. I mean, it kind of makes sense for her new trapped-in hell of a life. And for someone like Tamaki, it's all about finding her sister, and she knows for whatever reason, this town, it's all linking up. And I think the idea of slowly bringing in the old cast of characters to basically say, something isn't right here, why are more and more witches gathering, and why are the witches more powerful in this city? It's an intriguing plotline on the bigger picture while also putting the focus on the smaller picture of just those more personal stories, which allows for it to not feel like a copy and paste, but a direct kind of like sequel slash new alternative route in such an interesting way that we really couldn't predict unless you played the game beforehand. And even if you played the game beforehand, I've been told countless times throughout these reviews that they're actually taking liberties to turn it into an anime story rather than just a gacha adaptation, fleshing it out, changing things, and doing new things, because you kind of have to unless you just want it to feel like something that came from a copy and paste mobile game that tried to suck your time and money away. So it's a really nice feeling, I have to say. And I'm quite interested to see like what they're going to do next week, because in terms of the idea of like, okay, you know, it's not really a menacing force, at least at first, as long as you keep drinking the water. Had they drank another bottle, they would have probably another day or two, as long as they didn't do too many activities, of their luck not running out. But because of what Felicia did, well, now that familiar or whatever it was has now kind of roamed around, and now they pretty much have to fight a cult-looking group. And what's gonna happen? Because seriously, like, in the middle of a fight, they could lose their luck. If they trip, and they don't trip because they had luck on their side, that could reach their clock to 0, and then what's gonna happen? A giant worm gonna come down and eat them or something with, like, monstrous teeth? It's just something that lets your imagination run wild. And in a show that is all about bringing the imagination to life in some of the most horrifying and beautiful ways possible, that's a really intriguing concept. And instead of just like doing like one big antagonist or something like that, I'm really liking the idea of rumors and how these rumors are linking up to either an episode or a couple of episode arc to then move on to say, okay, this didn't solve my answer, so I'm going to move on to this next location, I'll meet this next character, and then we'll get wrapped up into yet again another event, and hopefully that will lead to an answer about what happened to her sister, while in the process learning about other characters and the bigger story of what this city absolutely represents. And that's why I'm enjoying it so much. Like, the production, honestly, could just completely crash and burn, and I'm sure a lot of people would stick with this anime simply because it feels like the original, even spiced up a tad bit more. Like, that's good enough, but I have to say, it's the bigger story that's keeping me here. Like, this city is so intriguing, where with the original, it was more like, okay, yeah, there's witches, and like, there's definitely a mystery with Kyubey and things like that, but it wasn't like, okay, what's going on with this city? Like, or what's going on, like, why can certain characters transform in such a weird way and then come back? Because the original rule set was, hey, if you turn into a witch, that's it, you're game over, you'll be put out of your misery, but not in this city for some reason. Like, there's something going on here that's a bigger conspiracy, so it gives you that deeper hook while keeping that focus on the personal story, which I think a lot of people are probably going to appreciate. Now, obviously, there's probably not going to be everyone will be satisfied, especially in a series like Madoka, which has so many reasons for people to enjoy it. But based on what I've been reading, I definitely think a lot of people are appreciating the liberties the team is taking in terms of creating something new while also still feeling familiar and kind of like safe and, you know, respectable to the medium that is basically kind of adapting from, which is the game. And I'm liking that. I really feel like this show isn't doing much wrong. Like, the only thing that could maybe be like an eye roll to some is some of the more slice of life scenes where it is them cooking or eating or things like that. But I actually appreciate those, because instead of it just feeling like it's an edge fest or it's just like some super grimdark show where it just wants to keep you depressed and on your toes, it gives you a lot of moments, even more so than the original, to make you say, huh, the characters are at peace. And you're not used to saying that 6 episodes into a Madoka anime, and I'm liking that change of pace because it lets everything feel like you never really know when something's gonna bite a head off of a character like we've seen before in this series, right? And I'm loving that. I mean, this show has so many potential routes to take such an intriguing twisting and turning roads to just turn it into something we can't comprehend or something we easily can, but it's just very horrifying to look at. Or they could keep going on the road of like, bad things are technically happening, but it's a very slow burn before the giant punchline. And that giant punchline might not come until the final episode of the season, and that would be perfectly fine because there isn't a boring scene in the show, in my honest opinion. They can be sitting, they can be sleeping, they can be talking, they can have the most mundane aspects of high school life, and it is interesting because no matter what we're looking at, Madoka is flashy and full of substance and style. It oozes style unlike any other anime in this season. It has the best art direction of the season, no questions asked, and the director is doing a fantastic job recapturing that original style that kind of made it pop and kind of catch so many people's attention originally. But the story is good. I've had some people like say, like, you know, I kind of like it, but I don't really see what you see in it. And it's honestly just, it's personal. It's personality and the bigger picture of not knowing what this city represents by it actually breaking fundamentals of magical girls and these soul gems. Like, everything that we've come to know had you watched the original anime is being shattered here which makes the old characters coming in to interact with this city all the more intriguing because, like us, it feels like they've had experience with this world. They're like, this doesn't make sense, we have to investigate. That's why I love it, and it just continues to hook me. And the sound direction continues to creep me out, or make me feel like this angelic aura. I'm like, it's so beautiful, but I feel so wrong for saying that because I know the true underlining messages and themes that this series is going for. Another great episode. I mean, last week was probably my favorite episode this week, a very close second for sure, but I mean, episode 7, it's got a lot to live up to over the past couple of weeks, but I have no doubts in my mind that it's going to hit it out of the park and deliver us a home run of an episode. But what did everyone think? Be it for source material players of the game, I would be really interested to see how did you enjoy it, because obviously I know it does change things, it adapts things and adds things, so let me know whatever you're feeling. And also for anime originals, what's your theories and speculations on this crazy ride? Let me know down in the comment section below, and if you enjoyed the video, be sure to drop a like and remember to hit that subscribe button if you have been new around here. So until next time everyone, please take care and have a good one.